This is Keith Ward with Visual Studio Magazine, and joining me now is Jim Nakashima. Jim is with Microsoft and gave this morning's keynote at Visual Studio Live. Jim, why don't you tell us what you do at Microsoft?
Well, I'm a program manager, a lead program manager on the Cloud Platform Tools team, and we develop the tools and technologies that help you build for the cloud, be it Windows Azure, Office 365, SQL Azure, and so on.
Okay. Now, and of course, that's what you discussed at the keynote, which just ended a few minutes ago. Can you give us sort of a high-level overview of why what you discussed should be exciting for .NET developers, and how this sort of opens up a new area for them in development that maybe they hadn't considered before?
Yeah, sure. Well, I spend a lot of time talking about Office 365 and the ways that you can extend Office 365. One of the exciting things for .NET developers is, unlike in the past where Office and SharePoint development was very specialized, this new app model, this new cloud app model, takes advantage of your skills as an ASP.NET developer, as a .NET developer on the server, and allows you to leverage that and leverage existing assets when building for the cloud.
Right. Now, that's one of the things that I particularly noted in your talk was how you can use the skills you have. You don't have to learn new stuff. Can you go in a little bit more depth on what you mean specifically by that?
Yeah, sure. Well, essentially, the new app model consists of a manifest that describes the application that Office or SharePoint can actually use to bring up your app. Now, when it brings up your app, it's actually bringing it up from a web server, meaning if you actually deployed your ASP.NET web project to that web server, that's what actually gets used. So if you have skills as an ASP.NET developer or a middle tier or back-end tier developer, all of that gets loaded into this app model and is fully leverageable.
Okay, great. Now, you also talked about sort of the integration with Azure, and went into some detail on that. Discuss a little bit of what you were talking about in terms of using the cloud to leverage these abilities.
Yeah, well, again, we're talking about ASP.NET development at its core, but surfacing it through Office and SharePoint entry points and leveraging Office and SharePoint services, which means that you still need to deploy this ASP.NET app somewhere. And Azure is a great place for that. So you can leverage the Azure tooling inside Visual Studio to deploy that app to Azure. You can leverage all the services, hosting and services, platform building blocks that Windows Azure provides when building out your app. So it's this great story of, hey, extend Office and SharePoint, use Windows Azure as a set of hosting and services for you to do that.
For me, I don't see a lot of especially Office. SharePoint development is pretty well established. Mm-hmm. Office development, and maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, does not seem to have the same sort of uptake or the same sort of consciousness by developers that, hey, I can do more than just use this product. I can develop for it. I can extend what you can do with it. Does that, or am I thinking about that wrong, do you think?
No, you're thinking about that right, and that's actually the way things have been. But we're actually trying to introduce this new world. So with this new cloud app model, it's easier to build for Office, for SharePoint, as really entry points into a set of services. And we talk about these modern apps that are a set of services with different clients on that. And we talk about devices, different device clients. Well, Office and SharePoint are now different entry points or clients on top of the same core set of services for your modern app. And so, in the past, yeah, I agree with you. Office developers, much more specialized, niche. SharePoint, much more common, but still specialized. But with the new app model being a web-based app model, there's greater opportunities to leverage existing services or new services that you're building and really have Office and SharePoint be entry points over those services that you may not have thought of before. And so that's one of the big messages that we're coming out with is like, what you thought of with Office and SharePoint, well, this isn't your father's Office and SharePoint. This is the new modern cloud-based Office and SharePoint. And if you can keep your users in the products that they're already using, SharePoint, Word, Excel, Outlook, well, that's a great thing from a user experience standpoint, and it's not a lot of work because you can leverage your web-based services that you're already building for other clients.
Right, great. Now, you also had talked a bit about the Lifecycle application. You talked about TFS. You talked also about Git and how Microsoft is contributing to that community now. So can you give us a little bit of an overview on Lifecycle with this new model?
Yeah, well, in a lot of ways, it's similar to what it was before because it's Visual Studio projects. We have great support for ALM in Visual Studio. One of the things I did talk about though was TFS to service, which is a really exciting service. It was, out of preview just a few months ago, or actually back at build. I guess it's now 6 months ago, but that was really exciting. There's a lot of capabilities and that you can leverage from that, including build, hosted build, which is still in preview, which is really exciting, source control, work item tracking, and so on and so forth. And that all integrates with Visual Studio really well. And they've made a lot of improvements in the portal experience that you can leverage as well. Now, the other aspect of kind of the lifecycle isn't just kind of the developer application lifecycle management, but the actual life cycle of the app itself. And one of the things that we've done with the Office and SharePoint model is think about beyond just publish. So today, so many times, Microsoft, Visual Studio, we talk about building the app, creating the app, publishing the app, and then kind of leave it at that. Well, we're now starting to think about, management is a big part of that. Management, maintaining, update. So how do we help our developer community, how do we help IT admins, how do we help businesses reduce costs in that part of the cycle? Mm-hmm. And the Office model, this Office 365 model, bakes in monitoring and telemetry so you can see what's going on, you can see errors in a unified way and in a unified place, you can see update errors as well. So bringing in monitoring, telemetry, governance into the app model is a big part of this app model.
Finally, one of the things that impressed me in the demo, the first one you did with the bubbles, was how quickly you were able to go from nothing to a decent product, in a few minutes. Is that one of the real advantages for developers? How quickly you can get these integrated, these Office 365 and SharePoint apps up and running?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the fact that we're built on web standards is a big part of that, right? So I could leverage something like the Processing.js library to do the heavy lifting for me. And so it was just a matter of piecing things together, and that's what I showed in the demo today. And you could do that with a number of different libraries out there, and services and other things that you've already built. So yeah, absolutely a part of the tooling and the platform that we've provided here.
Great. Well, Jim Nakashima, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.